You're listening to Signal Lost, original alien fiction. New story every week. I'm glad you found the frequency.
There is a particular kind of knowledge that comes from watching the same small place every night for a very long time. You learn a town the way you learn a face. You learn which windows go dark first, the families with young children, the early shift workers down at the harbor. You learn which ones burn late, the insomniacs, the drinkers, the young couple at the end of Cinder Row, who I do not think slept a full night the whole first year they were married. You learn the town's rhythm of light, the slow settling of it into darkness every night, house by house, until only the street lamps and my own lamp are left turning over the water. I know that rhythm better than I know almost anything, which is how I know with total certainty that what I saw on the 14th was not possible. My name is Martin Coyle. I am 63 years old. For 19 years, I kept the light at Ellisport, a harbor town of a few hundred people on a length of coast that most maps treat as an inconvenience between two more important places. I say kept the light. It has been half automated for years, the way they all are now. But someone still has to live at the base of it and mind it and be there when the automation fails. And that someone was me. I am telling you this because on the 14th of the month, at 17 minutes past 3 in the morning, every person in my town woke up at exactly the same instant. And I did not, because I was already awake, up on the gallery, watching. And I have not been able to tell a single soul what I saw, because every soul I might have told was one of the ones who woke. You have to understand what the town looked like at that hour on an ordinary night so that you understand what I am describing. At 3 in the morning, Ellisport is dark. Not poetically dark, actually dark. A few street lamps along the front, the green harbor light. Maybe one window somewhere, someone up with a sick child or a bad conscience. That is all. A town of that size, at that hour, is a black shape against a slightly less black sea, and the only thing moving in it is the sweep of my lamp going round and round and round. I was up on the gallery that night because I could not sleep. That is the plain truth of it. And I want to be honest about it, because the whole meaning of this story rests on the fact that I was awake by ordinary human accident, and not by whatever woke the rest of them. I had a bad hip and a cold cup of tea, and I had climbed up to the gallery to feel the wind, the way I had 1,000 nights before. I was looking down at the town, not for any reason, just looking, the way you look at a thing you have looked at 10,000 times. The clock on the harbor church read 16 minutes past 3. I remember because I glanced at it, and I thought about going down to make a fresh cup. And then it was 17 minutes past 3, and the town woke up. I need you to picture it exactly, because the exactness is the thing I cannot get past. Every window came on at once. Not a scattering, not a spread. Not the ragged way a town wakes to a fire alarm or a storm. One light and then another and then a cluster. Every window in Ellisport in the same instant, as though a single switch had been thrown behind all of them at once. One moment the town was a black shape, the next it was a grid of light, complete, total, instantaneous. Bedroom windows, landing windows, kitchen windows, every house, all of them, on. I have tried to time it since in my memory, and I cannot find any gap at all between the first and the last, because I do not think there was a first and a last. I think there was only an at once. I stood on that gallery with my cold tea in my hand, and I did not breathe. Because a town does not do that. People do not wake on the same second. Even a sound that wakes everyone, a blast, an earthquake, wakes them raggedly over seconds as the sound reaches different ears and different depths of sleep. There is always a spread. Always. The spread is how you know a thing happened in the physical world, traveling at the speed physical things travel. There was no spread, which means whatever woke them did not travel to them. It arrived at all of them at the same time, from the same place, which is not a place anywhere in my town, or on my coast, or, I have come to think, anywhere I would know how to point to. The light stayed on for a little over 3 minutes. I watched the whole time. I did not see people moving in the windows, which I have also not been able to get past. A town of woken people should be a town of moving shapes, going to windows, going to kettles, going to each other. I saw none of that. I saw lit windows, still and even, for 3 minutes. And then, at 3:20, every window went dark again, at once. And the town was a black shape against the sea, exactly as it had been, as if nothing at all had happened. I went down into the town at first light. I could not have stayed up in that lighthouse another hour alone with what I had seen. Everyone was ordinary. That was almost the worst of it. I had come down braced for, I do not know what, frightened people, a town in uproar. Instead, I found Ellisport doing what Ellisport does at 7 in the morning. Nets being seen to, the one cafe opening, Mrs. Ansell walking her awful little dog along the front. I stopped her. I asked her, as lightly as I could manage, whether she had slept well. She said she had slept like the dead, right through. Best night in years. I asked 3 more people, all variations of the same. Slept right through. Slept beautifully. Not one of them had any memory of waking. Not one of them knew that at 17 minutes past 3 that morning, they had sat up in their beds, because they must have, to turn on the lights, and turned on their lights and sat still for 3 minutes, and turned them off again and lain back down and kept no memory of any of it. I did not tell them. How could I? I was the lighthouse keeper who had not slept, telling the whole town it had done something in the night it had no memory of. There is a word for a man who does that, and it is not a word I wanted attached to me for my last years in that town. So I said nothing, and I told myself for about a week that I had dreamed it, or dozed on the gallery and dreamed it, the way you do. I stopped being able to tell myself that when they started leaving. It began quietly, the way the worst things do. The young couple from the end of Cinder Row went first, about 10 days after. Sold up, or did not even bother to sell, simply packed a car and went. Someone said they had family inland. That was the phrase that started going round the town in the weeks that followed, every time another household left. Family inland, always inland. Because they did all go inland. I want to be precise about this, the way the others in these accounts have learned to be precise. Ellisport is a coastal town. People who leave a coastal town leave in every direction, up the coast, down the coast, to the cities, wherever the work or the family is. They do not all leave in the same direction. It is not natural. It is not even possible statistically unless something is pulling. They left inland, east and a little south. Every single household that left, and by the autumn it was most of them, went the same way. I stood on my gallery and I watched the cars go week after week, and every one of them took the coast road east and turned inland at the junction, and none of them came back. And none of them, when I asked, could quite tell me why that direction. They would get a look on their faces when I asked, a puzzled, faraway look, as though they had never once considered that they had chosen a direction at all, as though inland were simply where you went now. One of them, old Bill Tarrant, who had lived in Ellisport his whole life and buried a wife there, stopped his loaded car beside my lighthouse on his way out. He wound down the window. I asked him where he was headed, and he said, inland. And I asked him where inland, and he was quiet for a moment. Then he said a word I had not heard before and did not understand, and have not stopped thinking about since. He said, meridian. And then he looked faintly surprised at himself, as though he did not know where the word had come from. And he wound up his window, and he drove east and turned inland at the junction. And I never saw Bill Tarrant again. I am one of the few still here. Ellisport is mostly empty now. Boarded windows, boats gone from the harbor. The cafe closed in November. I keep the light because the light still needs keeping. The automation does not care how many people are left in a town to be guided home by it. But I light it now for ships passing, not for anyone here. I did not wake that night. I have thought a great deal about why, and I have only the one answer, and it is the answer I like least. I did not wake because I was already awake. Whatever came at 17 minutes past 3 came for the sleeping, arrived in them through whatever door sleep opens, and I did not have that door open. I was standing on my gallery with a cold cup of tea outside of it, watching, so it did not reach me. But I think it noticed that it had not reached me, because two things happened afterward. The first is that I found a mark, not on myself, on the great lens of the light up in the lamp room, etched into the glass so fine that I only found it when the beam threw its shadow onto the wall one night, and I saw the shape swing round with every rotation, 3 lines converging to a single point, turning over my empty town all night, every night. I do not know how it was made. Glass like that cannot be marked without shattering. It is not shattered. It simply carries the mark now and throws it across the water with every sweep. The second is that a letter came, no stamp, no postmark, pushed under my door in the night, though there is almost no one left in the town to have pushed it. 1 sheet of paper, 1 number, in plain black ink. 1033.7. I have a radio. I have not turned it to that frequency. But I will tell you what I think, standing up here alone above a town that woke all at once, and then walked inland to a word none of them knew. I think it did not come to take my town. I think it came to call it. And I think my town answered. And I think the only reason I am still here to tell you is that I was the one man awake enough not to hear the call. And so I have been left, like a struck bell that did not ring, to carry the mark and keep the light and tell whoever is still out there listening which direction the world has quietly started walking. My name is Martin Coyle. For 19 years, I believed my job was to keep one light burning so that people could find their way home across the dark water. I believed the danger was always out there, the rocks, the sea, the storms. That the town at my back was the safe thing, the warm thing, the thing the light was for. I understand now that I had it backwards. The dark water was never the danger. The danger came from the other side, from inland, from the direction they all walked. And my little light, sweeping round and round, was never protecting the town from the sea. It was the last thing standing between the town and whatever was calling it home. They woke all at once, my neighbors. They slept beautifully, they said. And then, one loaded car at a time, they answered a question I never heard asked, and drove east, and turned inland toward a word I am still afraid to say out loud at night. I keep the light for them, in case any of them are still out there. In case any of them, one night, remember which direction the sea is, and turn around. None of them have. My name is Martin Coyle, and this was my signal.
Signal lost. New story every week. Have you heard the frequency?